distinction belongs to the Spanish Americans. The legal advantages gained through the efforts of our parents in the latter 20th century are now being repealed under the banner of reducing taxes. What was done to us in the 60s because of the color of our skin is now being done to us because of the apathy of our minds. Yes, we've gotten so at ease in Zion until we've lost the zeal and the resilience that made us a great people. My mother was a divorced head of the house, but she worked 2 jobs rather than take welfare. She had pride, and she instilled that pride in me. She said to me, Quinton, if you don't have it, work for it, but never steal it. She taught me to have some pride about myself. One of the principles that I was raised on was, if you don't sell yourself cheap, others can't buy you cheap. Where we are, we're integrated, but we're insensitive. Is this what Dr. King dreamed? Did he dream of a land where we spend more money on what goes on our heads instead of what goes in our heads? Is that his dream? Did Dr. King dream of a people that have little desire to be educated but a great desire for fast money, which leads to early graves? I think not. I think that we've fallen short of Dr. King's dream. Where we are, we've taken some steps forward, but we've also taken some steps backwards. Yes, we have progressed, but the blessings gained in the 70s have given us an entitlement mentality. So now, where we were poor but proud, we are now affluent and apathetic. So, finally, where do we go from here? Yes, sir. In my estimation, the only way we can go forward is to go backward. Not to segregation, not to disenfranchisement, but to the moral strength that we had as a people. We need to go back and get that industrial spirit that gave us hope to do for ourselves. That will to make opportunities where there were no opportunities. That will that took the guts of a hog and made chitlins. We had the ability to make something out of nothing. When we had discipline in the home and parents were empowered to raise their children. We need to go back to a time of caring for one another and loving one another and looking out for one another. To quote Dr. King, he said to us on one occasion that poverty gave us a duality of destiny. When one went up, the whole community went up. When we had less, we depended on each other. But when we got more, we became detached and distant. I can remember when I graduated from high school, I didn't have enough money to go to college and pay my first semester tuition. But some of the saints in the community that were friends of the family got together and put on a musical at the church and raised the $128 that I needed to complete my first semester tuition. That was when we loved one another and looked out for one another and helped one another. We need to go back to that time that we leaned on one another. We must go back to a time when we lifted one another up instead of putting one another down. But as I close this message today, we've got to go back to the greatest force of the civil rights era. What made the movement work was not the strategy of the marchers. It was not the potency of the protesters or the discipline of passive resistance. What made the movement work was the power of God. Like it or not, we didn't come this far because of the violent teachings of Stokely Carmichael and H. Rap Brown. We didn't make it today. Like it or not, we did not come this far listening to the separatist hatred taught by Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X. The leaders of the movement were Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Ralph David Abernathy, Reverend Andrew Young, Reverend Jesse Jackson. They were Christian ministers that believed in God and in the power of prayer. Many of you in California probably don't know why they were bombing churches in Birmingham. You probably heard about the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing where the girls were killed. 16th Street wasn't the only church that was bombed in Birmingham. But since I was there, and I kind of know, I believe I'll let you in on it. The late Eugene Bull Connor stood up at a meeting of the White Citizens Council in Birmingham in 1962 and made the following statement: if we don't stop these niggas from praying, the good Lord will give them anything they asking for. And in their minds, they thought the only place we could pray was in the church house. So they started bombing churches, thinking that they were stopping us from praying. They didn't know that we could pray in Kelly Ingram Park. They didn't know we could pray in the streets of Birmingham. They didn't know that we could pray in our own houses. You can tear the house down, but you can't stop a child of God from reaching his heavenly Father. We need to go back to God. Proverbs 14:34 says righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. 2 Chronicles 7:14 still reads, if my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sin, and heal their land. Saints, we need to go back to God. We need to go back to the God that brought us. We need to go back to the God that kept us. We need to go back to the God that led us. I quote James Weldon Johnson again as I go to my seat. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on our way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path we pray, lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shattered beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God and true to our native land. God bless you.